Hollywood cinema has long favored its dominant white audience by oppressing and stereotyping black minorities for their entertainment. Such racism invades all genres of film, but it's become a subtle staple of the horror genre, often in which white identity and experience are threatened by non-white races and culture. Where the monster is racialized as an other for the sake of horror spectacle and entertainment. This is precisely why Black American director Jordan Peele chose to subvert and invert the horror genre in his 2017 film Get Out. There are so many amazing things one could say about this masterpiece, but in this video I will argue for Get Out's immense cultural importance within cinema's history, particularly because of its progressive and unconventional representation of the black experience in America that challenged the long-lasting stereotypes of mainstream white Hollywood and subverted the horror genre. Full spoilers ahead, so please get out right now if you haven't already watched it. I would strongly recommend this film to everyone, even if you think you don't like horror, because this film really transcends the genre. I'd also like to warn of the suggestive and disturbing content I'm about to platform. Hollywood doesn't have the prettiest history, so please be advised. The earliest depictions of black people in cinema were obviously reflective of America's social climate at the time, as cinema was dominated by and clearly intended for white male audiences' entertainment, often at the expense of racist stereotyping. There's many examples to choose from, however, one of the most acclaimed and influential films of the silent era was, unfortunately, three-hour epic The Birth of a Nation, released in 1915 by D.W. Griffith, which is essentially a dishonest and terribly racist pro-KKK Civil War tale. It's hard to talk about this film today, but it featured, or rather celebrated, a whole bunch of Klansmen murdering and lynching black people, as well as actors doing blackface to stereotype and dehumanize black people as sexually aggressive and monstrous rapists. This is arguably the most racist film ever made, and it had a definite effect in not only instilling racist oppression and stereotypes in cinema at its birth, but by doing so in an especially politically regressive way, by saying it's wrong to give black people any authority, rights, or freedoms at all. So, black representation in Hollywood was off to a horrible start, and would remain rather unchanged over the next few decades. The biggest film of 1927, The Jazz Singer, notoriously featured Al Jolson in minstrel blackface.
Mommy, I'm coming!
And 1939's Gone with the Wind, which won a bunch of awards and was critically acclaimed, stereotypes the devoted ex-slave servant in Hattie McDaniel's supporting role of Mammy.
That sing all this tell a lady, but the way that she eat in front of folks like a bird. And I ain't aiming for you to go to Mr. John Wilkins's and eat like a field hand and gobble like a hog. Fiddle-dee-dee.
Hollywood's depiction of black people was limited to supporting roles, in which racist stereotypes were reinforced, and anything bigger was typically a white actor in blackface. Black actors hardly got lead roles, because Hollywood cinema was for the dominant white audience, which as a result left black people as mere passengers to both ends of the Hollywood film experience. Film critic and writer James Sneed famously defined this unchanging oppressive nature of black representation as a metaphysical stasis. And this metaphysical stasis would remain, even when black lead roles became more common, as they were often superficial and pandering to the civil rights movement. Films from this blaxploitation era of cinema, such as 1971's Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song, or 72's horror parody Blackula, yes, Blackula, seemingly empowered black audiences with their wrong black leads seeking vengeance, but only do so by still depicting them as unapologetically angry and aggressive perpetrators. Regardless, these controversial films managed to entertain both white and black audiences in the 70s. Black people could now at least better participate in and identify with film entertainment and its experience, and were happy to do so, even at their own expense because, well, that's how cinema had always been. At least, almost always. That is, until Jordan Peele's Get Out. Yeah, let's get back to it. While the title itself obviously evokes the film's narrative, suggesting that the black lead protagonist Chris needs to get out of the house of his crazy white girlfriend's family, its deeper connotated meaning represents the film's overarching theme. Jordan Peele is stating that black people need to get out of their metaphysical stasis and oppressive representation that Hollywood has plagued cinema with for over a century. Jordan Peele uses Get Out's concept of the sunken place as an allegory for the metaphysical stasis of black representation in cinema, as the black American is oppressed and omitted from any agency in the filmic experience, as both an actor and an audience. They may watch as a backseat passenger, but not participate, and are left completely helpless and stagnant to the predominantly white Hollywood audience and experience that controls black bodies. Peele even deliberately highlights this parallel towards the end of the film.
Intact. So you won't be gone. I mean, not completely. A sliver of you will still be in there somewhere. Limited consciousness. You'll be able to see and hear what your body is doing, but your existence will be as a passenger. An audience. You'll live in
the sunken place.
Now you're in the sunken place.
Yeah, that's what she calls it. Now, I'll control the motor function, so I'll be
Me. You'll be me.
good.
Also, the whole reveal that the white people are literally using and controlling black bodies is not only a brilliant and horrific plot twist, but it also serves as a clever critique of Hollywood's guilty history of doing the same. Peele completely flips this oppressive stereotyping and uses it as the basis of horror in Get Out, to ultimately get out of a stasis of representation while subverting the horror genre. See, for a while the horror genre would typically feature a white final girl victim who is threatened by the generally dark and otherly monster who is supposed to be an abject body of horror.
Be my victim. Be my victim.
But Get Out is not your traditional horror film. Peele refutes and reverses this long-lasting and inherently racist narrative trope by pitting the black lead Chris against the white Armitage family, who later become the abject body of horror because of their white dominance and black oppression that Chris must get out and away from. And if not, well then the metaphysical stasis or the sunken place for black representation will continue to prevail in Hollywood in America. And that's what makes Get Out a horror film, and a really important one at that. I think anyone can and should watch it, but Peele no doubt made this film for black audiences, and to advocate for their accurate self-representation and active participation in both ends of the Hollywood film experience. The scene where Chris's TSA friend Rod tries to get the police involved further emphasizes this notion, as Rod, or rather Peele, tells the story of the black man's plight to a black audience of 3 police officers, and they just dismiss it as humorous and entertaining, like their reactions to the blaxploitation films of the 70s. And they ultimately fail to get involved and make any change. The police lady's dialogue even notes this as she ironically calls herself out.
And don't ever say that I don't do nothing for you. Oh, white girl. Oh, they get you every time.
I should clarify that Get Out wasn't the first ever film to critique Hollywood's representation of black identities, but it certainly was the first to do so in such a creative and innovative, genre-bending way that only decades of oppression in cinema could permit. Overall, Peele's progressive and frankly genius representation of the black experience makes Get Out an extremely important film and a monumental achievement in the history of cinema, as it not only highlights and confronts the long racist history and nature of Hollywood, but recontextualizes that oppressive history as horrific, essentially revising the horror genre while he's at it.